It was exactly 2:07 a.m. when the pounding on my door began. Not a gentle tap, but a frantic, desperate banging that ripped through the silence of my apartment. At first, I thought I was dreaming. You know, that deep, heavy sleep you fall into right before the city wakes up. That's where I was. The city was quiet, the kind of absolute stillness that only happens in the dead of night. But then the knock came again, louder, more insistent. It was real. I pulled on a robe, my heart thumping a weird rhythm of annoyance and unease. Who in their right mind comes to someone's apartment at this hour? My mind raced through the possibilities. A neighbor with an emergency. The police! I crept to the door, my hand hesitating on the lock. Peeking through the peephole, my breath caught in my throat. I froze. It couldn't be. There she was. The last person I ever wanted to see. The woman who had ruined everything for me. Her name was Elise. 2 years ago, Elise had been my everything, my partner, my confidant, the person I thought I would spend forever with. Our life together felt like a movie montage, all laughter, inside jokes, and stolen kills. And then, just as quickly as she had entered my life, she destroyed it. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a detonation. Lies. A betrayal so deep it felt like a physical wound, and a scandal that left me heartbroken and publicly humiliated. She walked away without a single word of explanation, leaving me to pick up the shattered pieces of my life, my career, and my heart. And now, at 2 a.m, she stood on my doorstep, drenched from the pouring rain, her hair plastered to her face. Her eyes were wide with the same fire, the same intensity that once set my soul ablaze. Amelia, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the storm. Please. I didn't know where else to go. I wanted to slam the door in her face. Every muscle in my body screamed at me to do it. Just shut it, lock it, and pretend this was another nightmare. But something stopped me. Maybe it was the way her voice cracked on my name, or the way her body trembled, not just from the cold, but from something deeper. Or maybe, just maybe, it was that old wound inside me, the one that never fully healed, that was still crying out for her. With a sigh that felt like it came from the bottom of my soul, I stepped aside. Come in! Elise hesitated, her gaze searching mine for a trick, for the anger I was so desperately trying to hold back. Then she crossed the threshold. Inside my apartment, she looked smaller, somehow. The vibrant, confident firebrand I once loved had been replaced by someone fragile, someone broken. What do you want from me? I asked. My voice was cold, sharp. I needed it to be. I crossed my arms, a physical barrier between us. She flinched, as if my words were actual stones. A place to breathe, she said, her eyes fixed on the floor. Just for tonight. I know I have no right to ask. I should have said no. I should have pointed to the door and told her to get back out in the storm she'd created. But instead, I found myself walking to the linen closet, grabbing a thick towel, and pressing it into her hands. Sit, I muttered, gesturing to the couch. You're dripping all over my floor. It was a stupid thing to say, a practical complaint to cover the emotional chaos raging inside me. For a long time, we sat in silence. The only sounds were the rain against the window and the frantic beating of my own heart. The air was thick with unspoken words, with 2 years of pain and questions. I stared at her, really looked at her, taking in the dark circles under her eyes, the exhaustion etched into every line of her face. This wasn't the triumphant woman who had left me behind. This was someone running from something. Finally, I couldn't stand it anymore. The silence was louder than any argument. Why now, Elise? I broke. After everything you did, why show up at my door in the middle of the night? Her hands trembled as she clutched the towel. Because you were the only person I ever really loved, she confessed, her voice thick with emotion. And I ruined it. I know that. But tonight, I couldn't stop thinking about you. About a time when things were simple, when I felt safe. I didn't know where else to go. Her words pierced through the armor I'd so carefully constructed. I wanted to hate her. I wanted to cling to my anger because it was safe, it was familiar. But the truth was, a part of me had been waiting for this moment for 2 years. Waiting for an explanation I never got. You broke me, I whispered, the words barely escaping my lips. I broke myself too, she said softly, finally meeting my eyes. I thought I was doing the right thing back then, protecting you, protecting myself, but I was a coward. I lied. I hurt you, and I have hated myself for it every single day since. The walls I'd built around my heart trembled. Seeing her like this raw, vulnerable, stripped of all her old defenses wasn't what I expected. I wanted answers. I wanted closure. I wanted to rage at her. But instead, I was getting something much messier. I was getting her regret. Elise slowly reached out a hand, hesitating in the space between us. Amelia, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know that, but if you can give me one night just to sit here, just to be near you, Aganil, be grateful, then I'll leave. I stared at her hand, hovering just inches from mine. Every memory of our love and every scar of her betrayal clashed inside me like a violent storm. It was a war in my own heart. The past versus the present. The girl I loved versus the woman who destroyed me. And then, against my better judgment, against every rational thought in my head, I let my fingers brush against hers. The contact was electric. It was painful. It was beautiful all at once. We didn't talk much after that. She curled up on the couch, still slightly damp from the rain, and eventually drifted into an exhausted sleep. I sat awake in the armchair across from her, watching her. In the quiet of the night, as the storm outside softened to a gentle drizzle, I remembered why I had loved her so fiercely. Her laugh, the way she'd look at me when she thought I wasn't paying attention, the feeling of her hand in mine, and I also remembered why I had hated her. The lies, the coldness, the silence. It was complicated, messy, and so deeply unresolved. At dawn, the first rays of gray morning light filtered through the blinds. She stirred awake, her eyes finding mine immediately, as if she knew I'd been watching her. I'll go, she said softly, her voice raspy from sleep. I didn't mean to stir everything up again. She stood, and as she moved towards the door, a sudden panic seized me. The thought of her disappearing again, leaving me with even more unanswered questions, was unbearable. Elise, wait! She froze at the door, turning back to me. A fragile hope flickered across her face. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. Maybe, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Maybe you don't have to disappear this time. Maybe we should talk. Really talk. her eyes filled with tears. And this time, they weren't tears of exhaustion or despair. They were tears of relief. "I would give anything for that chance," she whispered. And in that fragile morning light, I realized the story between us wasn't over. It had been broken, yes, shattered into a million pieces. But maybe, just maybe it could be rebuilt. This wasn't an ending. It was a new, terrifying, and uncertain beginning. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done? See you next time.